Pokémon Emerald Enhanced version 10.100 introduced 14 challenge modifiers, and in version 10.200, 3 new ones were added for a total of 17 challenge modifiers in the game. In this video, I'll be going over each and every one of these challenge modifiers, as well as providing some advice on how you can beat each one. First, we have Nuzlocke mode. If you're familiar with ROM hacks, then chances are you're already familiar with the terms, so I'll just assume you already know how it works. Like in a regular Nuzlocke, the game prevents you from catching more than one Pokemon for each route, city, cave, and so on. And if a Pokemon is fainted at the end of a battle, the game automatically deletes them once you're back in the overworld. Due to technical limitations, however, it only checks at the end of a battle, meaning you can still revive a fainted Mon mid-battle and it won't get deleted. As for the 1 Mon per route rule, you can just re-roll until you finally get the Mon you want, as the game doesn't prevent you from using Pokeballs until you've actually caught something. So for example, my first Route 101 encounter was a Sentret, but I wanted a Poochyena. I can just run around until I actually find one, and the game won't punish me for it until something within the route is actually caught. You can also just use the Dex Nav if you have it unlocked already, it's totally fine. This isn't the most honorable way to win a Nuzlocke, but this game is already hard enough, and most people Nuzlocke this game on new game scaling, which is based on badge count while being ridiculously overleveled, which is stupidly easy, as well as using items, rather than New Game Plus's auto scaling, which is much more balanced, so don't feel too bad about this. We all mess up here and there. Regular and Advanced Monotype. These two are pretty similar. As the name would suggest, Monotype allows you to only catch and use Pokemon of a certain type while this challenge is active. Advanced Monotype will have the same effect, in addition to limiting the moves you're allowed to use to only that of the same typing along with normal type moves to prevent soft locks. So for example, you selected Mono Water, and you caught a Tentacruel. In Monotype, you could freely use moves such as Poison Jab or Barrier, which aren't necessarily water type moves, as long as they're being used by Tentacruel, who is a water type. However, in Advanced Monotype, these moves will always fail, as you are only allowed to use water and normal type moves such as Scald or Rapid Spin. While this may sound rather restricting, it makes for some interesting gameplay, since you're forced to use strategies you normally wouldn't even consider, so I'd say it's not that bad. And if you're really struggling, Hidden and Secret Power can be used as additional coverage, since the game categorizes these as normal type moves. However, during battle, the type actually changes depending on your IVs. Plague, Famine, War, Death, and Revelation. The reason I'm including all 5 in one is because Revelation mode is just a combination of the first 4 effects all at once. But what exactly do each of these actually do? Well, for each real-life minute that passes, you have a chance of getting hit by at least one of the following effects. Plague has a 12% chance of afflicting a random party member with a status effect. Famine has a 10% chance to reduce a random party member's move down to 4 power points. War also has a 10% chance to drop a random party member's health by half of their current HP. And Death has a 5% chance to drop a random party member's health down to 1 HP. So basically War, but more punishing. Individually, these effects aren't all that bad, but together they all add up to a 37% chance of at least one of your Pokemon getting hit with at least one of these effects, which, like we said earlier, can trigger every real-time minute. This becomes a lot harder the less Pokemon you have, as it means there's a higher chance for a Pokemon to get at least one of these effects. Plague in particular is probably the most aggressive out of these 4, as you can get hit with multiple statuses per Pokemon at the same time without even knowing it, meaning you can be paralyzed, burned, and poisoned all at the same time. The best way to counter this is to simply check on your party often and have lots of lava cookies ready, as they're a lot cheaper than full heals and will get rid of all statuses at once rather than individually. Gen 1 mode. In this challenge, there are no items or natures, and there aren't supposed to be abilities either, but the developer seems to have forgotten to code that in. Let's see how long it takes for him to notice. There's no clever strategy for this mode in particular, as it's just playing without items. I guess you can try messing around with the pickup ability, and there's also some Pokemon that spawn in the wild with held items already, such as Snorlax with leftovers or Manaphy with Shell Bell, so you can take advantage of these however you like, though at the end of the day, items are not mandatory to beat the game. Late Bloomer. This one's pretty simple, as all it does is make Pokemon evolve 10 levels later than they usually would, so it's not really that big a deal since you'll probably be over leveling stuff later on anyways. Magnetosphere. God, I hate this one. Definitely the hardest out of all the challenge modifiers. This one takes 33% of your max health in damage every turn, just like Curse would for example, and you can't switch out. Or, in the case of wild battles, this prevents you from running. Having to deal with either one of these effects is already bad enough, but both of these into one makes for an unimaginably horrible experience. Not only do you have to deal with your opponent dealing damage, but losing 1/3 of your HP per turn hurts a lot more than you'd expect and can easily get out of hand. My recommendation would be to just not touch this mode. However, if you want to do it anyways, here's what you can do. You can try bringing other methods of passive healing into battles, such as passive healing moves like Ring or Aqua Ring, recovery attacks such as Drain Punch or Horn Leech, crafting healing factor using alchemy, and setting your mom as a follower as she provides passive healing at the end of each turn. Don't bother with moves like Recover or Roost since they take a whole turn to heal and the damage you're taking is probably outdoing the healing anyways. I would also recommend items like Shell Bell, which was buffed in this game, or Leftovers for passive healing, and to avoid using glass cannons altogether in this game mode as unless you're one-shotting everything, they'll probably only last a single turn. Lazy. This one is also pretty simple. All it does is make all of your Pokemon move last, meaning moves like Protect and Endure are completely worthless as they always fail, and priority attacks like Aqua Jet or Extreme Speed aren't very good either. Sickly. Probably my favorite out of all the challenge modifiers, however it can be quite unforgiving. This modifier is basically Serene Grace on steroids. Every Thunderbolt will paralyze, every Ice Beam will freeze, every Bite will flinch, and every Ancient Power will trigger an Omni Boost. Basically, if a move has a secondary effect, it will always occur 100% of the time. However, this applies to both sides of the field. This mode is also supposed to force every wild Pokemon's IVs to be 0, but it seems the developer forgot to make the final changes because I have yet to see this in action. For this mode, all I can say is get creative. A lot of moves have effects you can take advantage of. Faster Pokemon in particular tend to be better for flinch strategies, for example. I used this set on Rotom Frost a while ago and very little was actually able to do anything back, so it was literally just Rotom Frost sweeping like half the run. So have fun team building in this one. Anti-Darwinism. This mode prevents Pokemon from evolving altogether. Or that would be the case, except, well, yeah, this wasn't coded in properly, so I don't know, this one is basically null. I already explained the next 3 in my previous video, so if you haven't seen that already, go check that out I guess, but here goes. Anyways, next up is Greedy Trainers. If you lose a battle at any point, you lose all the items in your bag, with the exception of important items like key items and TMs. Again, there's no clever strategy for this one other than to simply get good. Now, I guess you can also keep your items in the PC if you're that worried, but honestly I don't know if that works. Technician mode. So during this challenge, you can only use attacks that have 60 or less base power, and if you try using an attack above 60 base power, you lose a turn. The ability itself will only buff moves that go up to 30 base power rather than 60, meaning it will only buff moves like Fury Swipes or Poison Sting, but not Aerial Ace or Bug Bite. Yeah, sorry Scyther. This one is pretty fun in my opinion, as like with Advanced Monotype and Sickly, it forces you to come up with creative strategies. If you're struggling with this one, try moves like Gyro Ball or Rollout, which technically don't go over this limit, but can still do massive damage over time. And passive damage moves such as Will-O-Wisp or Leech Seed are also pretty good here. Economy mode. So everything, whether it be healing at the Poké Center or maybe using the PC, I don't know, everything costs money. Item prices in the Pokémarts are also based on how much money you actually possess, meaning that even if you have millions or billions of Pokédollars, you'll only be able to buy maybe around 10 or so items at a time. So yeah, I guess this mode teaches you how to get better at spending your money. This one is more of just a minor inconvenience, as it doesn't actually have any sort of effect in battle, so it's up to you if you want to try this one. I don't really know. Anyways, those are all 17 of the current challenge modifiers. Let me know what you think. Whatever it is, let me know in the comments. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.